something in the background, so it
Okay.
you good?
Yeah. Ready?
Yep.
I'm
Are we
okay.
ready? We about ready to start the show?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the show today. This is Rodney Harris from Prime Local TV Network. I'm honored today to have my guest, former NFL star, former Buckeye, and former Captain McKinley. And then those of you don't know about Captain McKinley, we're gonna talk about McKinley. Captain McKinley star, Ray Ellis, Philadelphia Eagle, and Cleveland Brown. Hey man, thanks for joining the show today, man.
All right, it's my pleasure, man. You reached out to me, and I was humbled that you did that. But I was really looking forward to it. Whenever I can get together with a homeboy, I always want to chop it up and talk a little sports.
Yeah, and we got Muhammad behind you too. Got to mention the great
man. That's my inspiration from day one. You know, real quick story. When I got drafted, I was the next to the last player drafted. So only one other player was drafted in 1981 after me. But as soon as I got that phone call from a couple of Ohio State coaches that were coaching on the Philadelphia Eagles staff that I was going to be drafted, I took out running, and I started running just like I remember watching the movie The Greatest, when Muhammad Ali was running and talking to himself. You got to run till you can't run no more. You got to run till you can't stop. That is the way I continued to run and work out. You know, from that point on, man, I was working out, you know, before I saw that movie, but in my mind, I started thinking about Muhammad Ali. That's how I was going to make that team, just thinking the way he thought, you know, just give it everything you got.
Hey man, let's start off telling people about Captain McKinley. You know, they're one of the winningest high school programs in the country. But tell me some people you played with and some people that came out of Captain McKinley.
Well, at Camp McKinley High School, you know, I think it's the greatest high school in America, you know, from an academic perspective, as well as athletics. You know, you go to Camp McKinley, you get a great education, the entire community there supports you. If you're on the part of the football or the basketball team, you're basically a celebrity there in your city. We have professional basketball players and football players that they got their start there at McKinley High School. I grew up as a kid in the late 60s watching the late great Nick Weatherspoon, who went on to University of Illinois, then was a first round draft pick and played for the Washington Bullets back in the day. And then after Spoon left, you know, the next great basketball player we had was Phil Hubbard, Olympic gold medalist, first round, all world at Michigan. His name and jerseys hanging in the rafters at that school up north. I didn't mean to say that word. and also he was a first round draft pick, you know. And then we had other ball players that came, you know, after them. I was one of them that came after them, you know. From a football perspective, if you go back to the beginning of football, it was, of course, the late great Hall of Famer, Marion Motley. You know, he was the inspiration. You know, he was really, as a football player, what really inspired me, because when I was a kid, before I got to high school, the Hall of Fame opened, and Marion Motley was the first Black man inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You know,
bro, I didn't know that. Over Jim Brown?
Oh yeah, he was before Jim Brown. You know, so you know, they did accordingly. But Jim came afterwards. But Marion was and it always has been the man. And in fact, we're working on a project to try to raise some funds to get a statue built for Marion in Canton. But Marion Motley, and of course, you know, there were other ball players. I played. Percy Snow and his brother Eric played basketball, pro basketball player. Percy played football. Kenny Peterson, Mike Doss. You know, there's been quite a few guys, man, have come through, you know, and then there were some guys who maybe didn't play pro ball, but were great college players and wonderful at McKinley. Randy Clark, Charlie Weatherspoon was a mentor of mine who went on to Yale. When I was a freshman, I played varsity. Spoon was starting free safety. He's Nick's brother. He went on to Yale. So we've achieved on the field and off the field, and just good human beings, man. The city, that's all a part of that city there. I love the city just like I love the school, and you're not going to find a better, representation of what athletes need to prepare themselves than you will. They got everything you need at McKinley. They got all the equipment, all the facilities, all the coaches, all the fans. They got it all.
And you know what I like about, I know a lot about McKinley. Like when we were talking, we used to do that game. So, I don't know if the other Temkin is the only one left, but what I do know about former athletes from McKinley, y'all come back and do a lot for the city and do a lot for the kids, man. So, I really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, because that's the community of which we are a part of, that community, fed us. That when I say fed us, I mean, they just put their heart and soul into the development of us as young players, young athletes. And as a result of that, you witness what it's like, to care about somebody. And it's not what you say, it's what you do. And so we try to, give an example of the example that we experienced coming up. People did nice things for us. They supported us. And so we try to do the same. And there's a few of my friends that we got together, organization we created called Canton Outside of Canton. And we did some things during the Christmas holiday that just almost brought me to tears, man. We were able to feed a lot of families that perhaps really may not have had a meal during the holiday season.
That's good. So moving on to Ohio State, you played for the Woody Hayes.
Yes, sir.
Was he as crazy as it appears from the outside looking in, or
You know what? That's really interesting to hear you say that, man, because that's what I thought about Woody before I went. I thought he was missing about 3 or 4 screws, not 1 or 2, about 3 or 4. But what I got a chance to find out, he was a man that was passionate about his work. He was passionate and he loved what he was doing. I tell a lot of young kids, that young athletes in particular, that one day want to aspire to play at the professional level. Again, it'll show up. You'll see them do certain things that let you know that they mentally ready and prepared to make that sacrifice. And Woody made the ultimate sacrifice. He gave his life basically to football. And a few years later, after he retired, then he went on to heaven. But he loved his players. He could punch you, but could nobody else punch you? And he grabbed, and he was an old man, so it was never like he ever hurt you. And you always had equipment on. So, I remember when Woody came first time I got an experience, it was an all-star game, of which it was the year before I played in the North-South all-star game. And there was Woody came to see the game. And I'm pretty sure that he knew that obviously he knew he was there, and he knew that the word probably got out that he was there. And he didn't look for me. I'm sure he thought I was there too, but he knew that if he was there, that I should find him. And I did. I heard, a few people who knew me, as I said, you in Canton, you like a little celebrity there in their hometown. And so I heard that Woody was there. So what I do, I walked around, and it ain't like you're gonna miss Woody Hayes. And I saw him, and I walked up to him, say, "Hey, Coach Hayes, how you doing?" Everything. And of course, what does he do with a stadium full of people? Start punching me in my gut. Boom, boom, boom. And it was tight, so he was okay with me, But he was a great man. I remember when he lost his job, that was terrible. Again, it was an incident where his emotions got the best of him, and he did something I'm sure he regretted, to the day he passed. But
yeah, when he grabbed that guy from Clemson.
Yeah, and he punched that kid. Yeah, he should have punched Art Sleester for throwing the interception. That's who he should have punched, And for a few other reasons, he should have punched Art Sleester. But no, he's a great coach. He knew the X's and O's as well as anybody, and gave everybody a chance. And he pushed you. If if you were under Woody's coaching and as a player, you didn't excel to the best of your ability, it wasn't because of him, it was because of you, because he pushed you. He pushed you. I mean, he pushed you in terms of your conditioning. He pushed you in terms of the execution of the plays. He pushed you in terms of the mental capacity of, knowing your plays, aware of what's going on. He pushed you at all levels, and then he pushed you, wanted to make sure that you succeeded in the classroom too.
So when you was at Ohio State, did y'all go to the Rose Bowl?
Yeah, we at that year that Woody left, the first year after he left, the next year we were undefeated, and we went to the Rose Bowl and ran into Ronnie Lott and an NFL team, out there in USC. As a matter of fact, that is the first and only, and never will ever be another time where you have two Heisman Trophy winners in the same backfield. Charles White and Marcus Allen was their backfield. Ronnie Lott was on the other side, showing you his version of Jack Tatum. They had Anthony Munoz, another Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Famer, on that team. And Clay Matthews, Bruce Matthews was on that team. Chip Banks was on that team. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on.
So outside of you, who was on Ohio State?
Oh, well, we had Doug Downey. Doug was a second-round draft pick with Dallas Cowboys, wide receiver, of course, co-captain with myself. Keith Ferguson played many years for the Detroit Lions and then the San Diego Chargers. My roommate, Luther Henson, played for the New England Patriots. Alvin Washington, linebacker, drafted in the 4th round for the New York Jets. Tim Spence was on that team. He was a backup running back. Kyle Murray was our starting tailback that year. He was a 4th-round pick for the Eagles. Art Schlichter was a starting quarterback. So, I mean, it was a good game. It was 17-16, it went right down to the wire. If we win, we're champions, yeah.
Was that the best college game you ever played in?
It's out there online as, the top, 15 college football games ever. So I'm going to say yes. The only thing about it, I don't like being on the losing teams of great games. And I've been on the losing teams of that at college level. And then, of course, the drive and the fumble at the professional level. So, yeah, I like playing great games, man, but I want to win.
Yeah. So you get drafted to Philly. So, I always wanted to ask this, man, how big of a difference is it going from college where and then I'm gonna ask you this other one too, but okay, you're going from college where you're not used to getting paid a dime to going into the pros where all of a sudden you got this money and then you playing against grown men.
Well, we got to fast forward back in time. In fact, we got to go backwards in time. Because, and I'm not going to make it seem like it was nothing, because it was something, but my rookie year, I got drafted in the 12th round. My rookie contract was like $30,000, $35,000. The first round draft pick only made like $60,000. So, but again, that's 0 to 30, 0 to, so it's not like it's not a lot, and it's more than, I think my mom ever made, my dad and mom were divorced. My dad was in New York, but I don't know if he was making that kind of money at that time. But the money got better. As time went on, we went on a couple strikes, and the money got better. And the competition and things of that nature. The competition is like you got the best players at every position in the NFL. Whereas when you play in college football, you may have the best player that you play against on offense, maybe at 1 or 2 positions. Like, Anthony Munoz obviously was the best offensive lineman on USC. But then he also had Bruce Matthews, who was the best too. And then you had 2 Heisman Trophy winners. And then you got Ronnie Lott on the other side and Dennis Smith, so that's unfair. There's a few teams that they just got a ton of talent. There's some teams who just have a couple players that may make it to the NFL, but the money thing you don't focus so much on the money when you're in college at like a school like Ohio State, because basically just about everything that you need, you got the best food, you stay in a nice dorm, and then, like everybody else, there's a certain allocation that if you move off dorm, they help you move into an apartment. And apartments was pretty nice around campus. So you're not doing bad. As a matter of fact, for some of us, it was almost like a step up when we went to college from the environment we may have come from in our hometowns. So it's not that bad being a student athlete in a Division I school, with the exception of, when you want to do something on your own, your own leisure time, then that's when you realize, man, I want to go to the club with the fellas off campus. I don't have money to get in, or I don't have gas, put in the car to get there. So that's a little struggle. So sometimes you think about that, but it's still worth it. It's still worth it. But I'm one who fought for, and I believe that athletes should get paid for that time.
You know what? You be reading my mind, brother. That was the next question. Yeah. So you believe that they should get paid?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. As a matter of fact, I was a named plaintiff in the Ed O'Bannon case against the NC2A, where in the 9th District Circuit Court, we sued the NC2A and we won. And here's one of the most gratifying things in my life that ever happened to me, is that part of that decision was that those current student athletes would have an opportunity that their parents would get a chance to see their children play at the bowl games. But they would reimburse them, but they would have to pay for their airline tickets up front. They'd have to pay for their rooms up front, and then they would reimburse them. Now that's a challenge to me in itself, because it's like, okay, if they don't have the money, then why are you going to put them in a position to go get the money from somewhere else, or somebody else, and then wait for you to send them a check? But that's the way it worked out. But it worked out in such a way that a young man from Camp McKinley High School and his parents were able to come out and have a chance to see their son play in that, first game of after the lawsuit had been settled. And for me, it all came to my mind that should happen, that the parents should be there anyway, because the last college football game I played in, I played here in Phoenix, Arizona. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened that when the lawsuit was settled, Ohio State made it to a bowl game the next year, and that bowl game was here in Phoenix. So Eric Glover got a chance from Camp McKinley, got a chance to come out, and his family to watch him play. And it was a great moment for me, sad moment, but great at the same time, because see, I felt like my senior year was a chance that my mom, I wasn't guaranteed to play pro football. So it was a chance that it might have been the last game that my mom got a chance to see me play. And they didn't fly her out here, but they flew their families out and their children out. And I just didn't think that was fair.
So did you always feel like you could make it to the pros, or like when did you know that you could make it in the pros?
To be honest, I think I kind of got a sense when I got to training camp, mini camp as a rookie. See, I was a next to the last pick, but I was the only defensive back that they drafted. So when the rookies had a mini camp, there were rookies and free agents. So in my position, I was the only one that was drafted. So that mentally, I'm playing games with myself. I'm making myself think, okay, you like a first round draft pick. You're the only one here that was drafted. Everybody else here was a free agent, And then when we start practicing, and there's another thing I've always done in my whole life of my playing career, is that if I ever played against a team, I always made mental notes about who played for that team and what kind of game I had against them or they had against me. Because if we played against each other in high school, when we got to college, I'm going to think about how that person played against me, how I played against him in high school. And I'm going to kind of measure his talent accordingly. So, and most of the times, coming from McKinley, going into Ohio State at the freshman level, that gave me an advantage because, of course, we played against Maslin, and everybody had heard about McKinley Maslin game, and everybody heard about McKinley, so I kind of went in with a kind of a sense of confidence. I know the kind of program. I had some friends, like I said, Spoon them that went to Yale, a couple guys that went to Michigan, a couple guys that went to Purdue. So I've already played with college football players when I was in high school, and I know they moved on and they made it. So it kind of gave me an indication of how good I needed to be in order to make it. And then when I got in the pros, if I'm playing, if let's say if the Eagles are playing the Raiders, or the Eagles are playing the Cowboys, I would look on that roster, go down that roster and see who I had already played against or what school they came from. If they came from a school that I knew was not as good as Ohio State, I wasn't worried about him. If I played against him, I just take that mental note, rewind the tape, how do we play against each other, and boom, go from there. But that's a little game I played with myself back in the day, and it worked.
Okay, so we're gonna go to Philly, but we gotta go to the Browns first.
Yes, sir.
Because you so you played for Philly for 4 years?
5.
5 years, and then how did you end up over at the Browns?
Man, I got cut. I got fired. I just, I've been in Philly doing my thing. Everybody was happy. I was happy. Our head coach, well, first Dick Vermeil resigned because he thought he was burnt out. Our defensive coordinator took over, Marion Campbell, and so we had a good thing going. I was playing in the backfield with another brother, Wes Hopkins, God rest his soul. We lost Wes a couple years ago. One of the greatest free safeties to ever play the game. And this brother, he hit so hard that I came home from practice one time. I told my wife when we drafted him and we were going to play the first preseason game, his rookie year, which was my 3rd year, I wasn't starting yet. I was backing up Randy Logan, the dude from that school up north. They hadn't put me into the starting lineup yet. But I told my wife, I said, honey, we drafted this dude named Wes Hopkins. I said, I ain't never told you to watch nobody else, but I want you to watch him. Well, after, it was a preseason game, it was away. When I came home after the game, my wife told me, you make sure you stay out his way, because she wanted to accidentally hit me, which later happened to me, somebody else, Felix Wright, I'm gonna call him out right now. He ended up hitting me later on in my career, hurting my neck. But anyway, yeah, that's my Wes Hopkins story. And Philly is like, Philly was a blessing, man. I really didn't, I didn't know they were going to draft me, until the very end, I had no clue, although they came to visit me at Ohio State. It wasn't like they followed up and said, Ray, you're going to end up here, but I was on the board, and now that I have friends, I know how that works. They took a chance on me.
So y'all didn't have like pro days like they got now.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
Oh, did?
They've always had pro days, yeah. Just haven't. Well, what the NFL has a way of doing is looking at properties and things that they own as revenue generators, and where they see an opportunity to generate revenue, then they will. And somebody told them that, convinced them that their combine was a revenue generator. So what they do, they put it on television, and made a revenue generator. That's all that really is, because before they were drafting guys, going to combines, they would either come to the pro day, would be at Ohio State. Mine was at Ohio State when I met Fred Bruni. And then the combine was in New York. So I went to New York for a combine. But the combine we didn't do as many things at the combine as they do now. The combine now is more like a pro day where you got you working out and all that. And the combine in New York, you didn't do as much as that. It was more of the intellectual aspect and interviewing, and they want to see what kind of person you are and all that stuff.
Okay. So Philly, who did you, I know you said you played with Harold Carmichael?
Oh yeah. And I was blessed in Philly. I actually played with 3 Hall of Famers. So the first one, my rookie year, Claude Humphrey was a defensive tackle with us, who was a Pro Hall of Famer. Harold Carmichael, I obviously we all know the wide receiver is going to go in now. And then Reggie White was our defensive tackle, and who, God
Oh,
bless
yeah, he
his,
was in Philly
yeah,
before he went to Green Bay.
yeah,
Or
that was
did he go to Green Bay and then to Philly, or Philly to Green Bay?
no, his pro story is he started. In fact, Reggie was playing the USFL, and the USFL, fizzled out. And I remember that we went to the Eagles had traveled to Detroit for a couple of days of practice prior to the preseason. And I remember it was getting close to time for us to have bed check. And I was hanging out with my teammate, my frat brother, Keith Ferguson, who we played together at Ohio State. He was in Detroit, so he had come by, grabbed me, took me to get something to eat. We were coming back, so I get in before bed check. And I looked, and there was this car parked in front of the, where we were staying at, place we were staying at. And it was like this back seat of this big old dude in the back seat. Seemed like he was bent over and covering up the whole back of the window. And in the front of it was our GM, Harry Gamble. And then there was a black dude that was driving it. And his name was, I think it was Patrick Forte. And Patrick was Reggie's agent. And I didn't know, I maybe have get his name wrong. First name was Patrick for sure. And he became the GM or assistant GM or president for the Eagles. Reggie was a package deal. And Reggie, who was sitting in the back seat, ended up signing with us. So that's where that kind of took place. Somehow or another, they got together, did the talk and signed the papers and made the deal. And Reggie came in playing for the Eagles. And man, Reggie could imitate this man behind me as well as anybody ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Reggie was a comedian. He was a strong Christian man, but Reggie was a comedian too. He was a big kid, man. Big kid, big, fast dude. Yes, strong. Didn't lift any weights, just, he
Country strong, huh?
Yeah, one of them country boys. That's him. Yep, that's Reggie.
So then you go to the Browns, and you were there to the two most unfortunate times in Browns history. That was the drive and then the fumble. So tell me about the drive first. The game that y'all should have won.
Man, you ain't gonna do this to me. Okay, here we go. I just talked to one of my teammates as I was walking, Major Everett, who I played with in Philly and in Cleveland. Major was on it, and we chatted a little bit about that. But interesting enough, that drive to me, I'll never forget that, because for one, our secondary was too good to let somebody drive 98 yards on us. But at the same time, too, our defensive line was too good. So if you look at it on paper and you draw the situation up, the outcome is never the way it eventually played out, because you got too many good players, even great players. Hanford and Minnie, as corners together, great tandem, probably one of the, ain't no doubt, one of the best ever. But for some reason or another, I'm one of those I'm a player who I don't believe the game is won or lost based upon coaching. For me, every play that's ever drawn up from an offense or defensive perspective, when the offensive play is drawn up, it's drawn up that everybody has an assignment. If everybody executes their assignment, then it's a touchdown. On the defense, a play is drawn up that if everybody does their job, then the play is stopped. So that means that somewhere, somehow, somebody didn't do their job. A player didn't do his job on the field, because the play was drawn up that you should be able to stop this play. And we just didn't do that. We didn't do that. And I know we're much better. That drive, that team is much better than that drive. And and the drive that there's some other things we could have done early in the game too. But I think the offense played an outstanding game. I've seen that game a couple of times. And they was balling, man, because, we came, particularly second half, we came back and they took the game from them, and we just didn't hold on to it, So yeah, that drive is a tough one. And then, of course, the next year is that other one. I'll let you say what that other one was.
That was the fumble. Although you know, one thing I can say with the fumble, I don't think people came down on him as hard. You know what I'm saying? Because you could tell that he was really trying to get in the end zone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like just really trying to get in the end zone. So
I appreciate you saying him because you know we know his name, but that should not define his career. That's the play that happened. And that man, we would have never been in a situation that we were in if it were not for him. If you watch the game up to that period, EB was playing his butt off, man. He was balling. I mean, he was balling. It was like, you know, and you know, sometimes it's K-Mac, but man, that game, it was Ernest was doing his thing, you know, and we wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for him. And he since went on and got him a Super Bowl ring, I think, with the Washington Redskins. But and I'm not going to diminish that ring, but you know, one of the greatest memories of any Cleveland Brown fan has to be those two games and those two seasons. You know, I mean, to this day, you know, that's where we garner all of our energy about the success that the Browns could possibly have. We think back to then. For those of us who've been around long enough, we think about how exciting and how good those teams were. And wow, we're going to get back to that, you know, and that's the measuring stick, you know, but you got to take that next step and win, you know. And I wish we could have won for Marty too, you know, because, you know, he took over and, you know, he turned that franchise around, man, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you had before that, you had Brian Sipe and those guys, they did a couple things. But yeah, it was just sad. We couldn't execute. You know, we could have got, Dave Pazzulli, Puz did get one sack during that drive, but we needed another one. If we could have got another one, you know, we could have intercepted a pass, you know. So we accept the blame ourselves. We know that we could have done better and we didn't. So I apologize to the fans again today for that.
Yeah, well, y'all was against Elway, man. So
yeah, you know what? But you know what? In my mind, I think both of those games were the best games that Elway ever played. I don't think those games were a true indication of John Elway consistently doing that all the time. No. I think he had two great games and great players, you know, step their game up, you know, when they need to. And he did. That's what makes him great. He stepped his game up. But no, I would tell you, he probably would say very few games that he, over his career, he'd think about that he played as well as he did against us when it counted the most. Yep.
So did you see the end of your career coming?
Interesting. No, I did not. And it was an injury that ended my career, a neck injury. We played the first game of the '87 season. We played in Houston. And I injured myself on a play early in the game, and then later on in the game, there was a play where the running back circled out of the backfield, and I was on the right side, and Felix Wright was in the middle, and he circled around. We both kind of attacked him, and running backs, you know, sometimes running backs, you know, they will do the smart thing and they'll duck. You know, they won't take the punishment. They'll just go down. And Flex came in full speed, man, and caught me in my face and bent my neck in such a way that it should not ever be bent. And so I ended up in a career with 4 herniated discs and bone spurs in my neck. And I just thank God today that, you know, I'm still able to move around, get all the agility, flexibility that a 62-year-old man can't have right now at this time. Although I got some other issues I'm dealing with, I'm okay now. But right then, man, that wasn't too good. I woke up, I didn't know what happened. I can't tell you nothing about that game. You know, it's one of those things that happens in football sometimes. You know, interesting enough, when a defensive player inflicts pain onto an offensive player, then, you know, you don't think about the player that inflicted the pain. You just think about the person that, who was hit. But it's like a car wreck, man. When there's a car wreck, there's two cars in that accident. So when you go over, you look at one car and you say, oh man, what happened? How they doing? And then you got to go look at the other car too, because that person was in that same wreck. Felix, he's okay, but I think about that a lot of times, when I've hit people, it's like, okay, I'm not trying to injure them, I'm trying to hurt them to the point where maybe the pain hurts so bad that they don't want to play no more. But I'm never really trying to injure anybody where an injury is they can't play, But so no, I didn't see. No, I thought that was it. Again. I played 7 years. I prayed and I played, and I prayed and I played, and I wanted to. I asked God if I could play. If I could just play, I'd be grateful and thankful if I could just play. But I said, but Lord, if you gave me 10 years, I would walk away. He let me play. He let me play 7 years, and I'm very thankful for that. So, but no, I didn't see my career ending like that. I thought I would get my 10 in and I would walk away.
Okay, so we're gonna come back and talk about the concussion part and the injury part of the NFL. But now I want to go to after, because you basically by that point been playing, football over half of your life.
Yes.
So now you realize that it's over. Well, what did you do then? Did you start a company, go relax?
Well, what's interesting enough, and I can't really tell you, Rodney, where I got this mindset from, but I knew that it was going to be over before it started. Meaning that I knew that I couldn't play football my whole life. So it was going to come a time where it was going to be over. So I needed to address that aspect before it happened, because I was never one of those kind of guys. Even to this day, man, I tell my kids more so than I tell anybody else about preparation and planning, because mostly everything you do in your life, it's best that you plan it and you prepare for it, because otherwise you're reacting to somebody else's plan for your life, And so there were just a lot of things that I wished and hoped and dreamed of, if I got a chance to, to play. And, and so I started off on an entrepreneur path in Philadelphia. I got lucky in the off season. I was one of those players that when they asked you to go out and do a personal appearance on behalf of the team, a lot of times you were compensated. It wasn't a lot of money, but other times you weren't. But it was an opportunity for me to meet and network with people. And so I started doing that my rookie year. As a matter of fact, my rookie year, I got a chance to go to South America on behalf of CARE and the United Way. We're doing some things. And so anyway, I met a man by the name of George Beach. And George Beach owned one of the, early Black-owned advertising agencies, largest in the country. And there was another one that was in Burrell, I believe, was in Chicago. And one of George's clients was Campbell Soup, and I was very impressed with that. Campbell Soup, was right across the bridge in New Jersey, but I was very impressed with that. And George sat me down and mentored me. So on my off days on Tuesdays, I would basically go to his office. On Tuesdays, we go to lunch. He'd talk to me about his business and the things that he was doing, and the people that were, assisting him in business in his office, what their roles and responsibilities were. He showed me how he networked and how he pursued his business opportunities. He introduced me to the political atmosphere in Philadelphia. That was around the time, shortly after MOVE happened I was there when MOVE happened in Philadelphia. But it was a good city for me to grow up in, a lot of, great African-American Black men and women were doing great things in the city, in business and entertainment. My agent later in my life was a gentleman who also represented Grover Washington Jr. And when I first met Grover, Grover told me, he said, you know, Ray, it's interesting that all entertainers want to be athletes and all athletes want to be entertainers. And I never knew that, you know, that they're, you know, but Grover were always at the Sixers games. That was another thing. I got a chance to go to Philadelphia and watch Dr. J play. Man, Jesus, I was blessed, you know. So yeah, but it's something that I encourage young players, student athletes now to put the work in on the field and off the field, in the classroom, you know, and doing and in business and listening to those people and follow, you know, the direction of those that are giving good information. And then the other stuff is crap. Just let it go out, come in one ear, go out the other, because you're gonna get some of that too. You know, I was brought up in the league during a generation of time where they said a lot of players end up being broke. And I've had my challenges, but you know, I think broke is a state of mind. When you give up on yourself, you're broke, you're broken, you know, and I've never been broke or broken. You know, I've had some financial challenges, but the Lord has blessed me now. You know, my dream, when I played in that Fiesta Bowl, I called my girlfriend at that time, who was my wife of 38 years, June 18th this year. And back then I was talking shit, excuse me, but I was like, you know, baby, this would be a beautiful place to, you know, to get married and, you know, raise a family, have some kids and all that kind of stuff. And I forgot that she was from Missouri, which is the show me state. You don't just talk, you got to show me. So
Yeah, so
she was like, show me. So we're here now, you know, living out that dream. And God's been good to me, man. So, you know, plan and pray and you can make it happen. Every athlete, student athlete.
so you do a lot with the NFL players that's coming out now with the alumni
Yes.
and players. What is it? The Players
The
Network,
Players Association.
Players Association.
Yeah, and also the NFL Alumni Association. But the Players Association works with a consultant. Well, I'm sorry. The alumni works with a consultant by the name of Guy Troop, and he has the player networking event that he conducts annually. And I've been very involved with that at each Super Bowl. So I've probably been to the last 10, 15 Super Bowls. I haven't actually gone to every game, but I go to the city and we have our career fair. It's basically like a career fair, and he's involved in player development with the understanding that it's important that the athlete works on his professional career on the field, but he has to do something to prepare for his professional career off the field as well. And that should start from day one, because one play and it could be over with. One play could end your career at your first practice or at your seventh season. One play could end your career, you know. And
I didn't mean to cut you off on that one, but so is it hard to get through to them, especially now when they're making so much money and like they never see the end coming, even though, like you said, the reality could be at any moment the end is over, you know, especially with the NFL. I mean, you actually could die out there.
yes.
So it could be completely over. But is it hard getting through to them?
Right now, I like to tell people like this. It's just like raising children. That's what they are. They're children, and you can raise 3, 4, 5 of them in the same household. You know, 2 of them would do fine, and 3 of them would go far left. Man, it's like, wow, what happened? You know, complete opposite of the spectrum under the same parentship. You know, and that's what happens in sports. You know, you got guys. People always say there's dudes in their hometown that could have made it that didn't make it. And why did they not make it? There was some aspect of development that they just didn't get, and they didn't want to get. They were not committed to it, and that's what at an early stage in life, the athlete has to be committed to what it's going to take to make it. Because you do go through some things that the normal person just does. You know, sports is an industry of which the development of its product is created in a different way than anything else in life. anything else, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, track, whatever it is, you first of all, mentally, your mind, you have to take your mind to a place that the everyday average mind just doesn't go to, and then, you have to, in your heart, you have to exemplify some courage. You have to demonstrate some courage to do some things that that's gonna hurt, but I'm gonna do this anyway. That's really what courage is. Knowing that the outcome may be painful, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I weigh, I weigh 185 pounds. This dude weighed 230. He running full speed, but I'm gonna go tackle him anyway. I weigh 185 pounds. This tackle coming around the corner weigh 270 pounds, but I'm gonna go attack him anyway. I'm gonna do it anyway. This ball is way up in the air, and I'm gonna jump way up there. And I know this defensive back gonna flip my legs. And I'm gonna come down on my back or my neck or something, but I'm gonna catch it anyway. I'm gonna jump up there anyway. I'm gonna go across the middle, catch this pass. And this reminds me one time, man. We were playing New York Giants, and Phil Simms threw a pass across the middle, and I was playing safety. And this was before targeting. And I'm admitting to you now, first time I admitted this to anybody, I think, in my life. I saw the wide receiver coming across the field. I zeroed in on his head, and I went running full speed at his head and got him. He didn't catch the ball, but something I'd never seen in my life. It was about a 15-yard pass downfield. Phil Simms is a quarterback, so he dropped out about 7, 8 yards in the backfield when he threw the pass. When he let that ball go, Phil, it was like he was chasing that ball all the way down the field, because he knew where he threw that ball at. Oh no. Matter of fact, when homeboy saw film, he should have at that time got up and go beat Phil's ass for setting him up like,
laying him out like that.
Oh man, yeah, do it. But the fact of the matter, he was still willing to sacrifice his body and try to catch the ball. Those are, again, some things, you everyday jobs, you don't put your life on the line like that. You don't think you do that, and Woody used to call it, but it wasn't the same way. He understood what he was talking about. Woody was a celebrated military veteran, but he called it war. We were preparing for war. That's our Coach Hayes talked to us about what we were about to do. Get ready for battle, man. This is war, But we understood there's a line that you don't cross. No, we're not being disrespectful. We understand we putting our lives on the line like that, like those men who go to war do. But at the same time, this is the closest thing to it. You could legally assault a person on the football field and get away with it.
And I know you were saying before off camera how every single play you got hurt.
Every play, Ronnie. That's what I tell people who want to play this game. You have to have a tolerance for pain, because as a human being, if somebody closes the door on your fingers, it hurts. If somebody steps on your foot, it hurts. It's painful. But in football, you get hurt every single play that you make contact with somebody. That hurts, but you're not injured. Injured is when you can no longer perform, that you have to let somebody else come in and take your place because you can't do your job. So you're injured, and you got a broken arm, dislocated shoulder, separated shoulder, something's happened to you, broke your ankle, compound fracture, you injured. You got to go to the hospital. You need serious medical attention. Hurt, your feelings get hurt, so that's a complete different thing.
So we were talking about like concussions earlier too. And I know you were telling me, you were raised to play football like you play football, or like y'all play football back in the day. And I know you said a couple of your friends had passed away, for what is it called? CTE.
CTE.
Do you feel like the NFL is doing enough now for concussions?
I think now the NFL, when it comes to the play on the field, they have adjusted the game and the rules and regulations of the game in such a way that they do not promote the physicality that we promoted back in the day. I mean, the game, if you remember back in the day, what was his name? Tom Jackson, Tom from Cleveland, who used to play for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Tom used to be on ESPN, and Tom had a segment on ESPN where it was called Jacked Up. He got jacked up. He would do that, show highlights of people getting took, somebody getting taken out. They don't promote that violence of the game anymore, but I remember back in the day when I negotiated my contract, and I got a significant raise, and I felt it was well deserved based upon my performance and what I was doing on the field. But I had to convince my agent of why I should be paid. I said, this is entertainment. There's entertainment value that different people on the field provide. Wide receivers, they catch nice long passes, they dive, they catch passes, they get up, they do their little dances on you and everything, okay, the crowd likes that kind of stuff. I said, okay. And, running backs, they make these nice runs, they turn around, hold the ball in your face, shake the ball in your face. Like, crowd likes that kind of stuff too. I said, but also defensive players, when we hit somebody, and I said to my agent, I said, there's this thing that I made up, what I call it a woo hit. I said, you know what a woo hit is? And he looked at me like I was half crazy, and he said, no. I said, well, a woo hit is a hit that when you hit somebody, then everybody in the stadium and everybody at home said, ooh, damn, And so I said, that's has some value, and that's what I do. That's what I bring to the game. So I should be paid for that, And so, it was Jack. I was just trying to emulate Jack Tatum. I went to Ohio State because I like Jack Tatum. I wanted to be like Jack, and I tried to do everything I could to be like Jack. That's all I was trying to do what he would have done. I was representing this hat on my head. I was representing that university, and my high school, and I wanted us to be known for that. And so I went out and I was doing that, man. I built my career trying to do that. Again, I wanted to hurt the fellas. I didn't want to injure them. And I thank God, because I don't think, well, in practice, I take that back. In practice in college, I injured two of my friends. They were on my team, but there was spring games, scrimmage games, and I did hurt two guys. But in the NFL, I don't think I injured anybody. And I thank God I didn't injure myself, but I didn't injure anybody.
Okay, with your
let me say something about but those injuries, those hits led to the concussion lawsuit, to the ability to legally allow us to do that, knowing that they had already done the research. The NFL is a corporation that spends money and time on its product, of how they can improve it and where they can make adjustments at. So they have been doing some studies about the physicality and the impact of those collisions on players. But the mistake that they made is, once they got those results, they didn't share that information with us. They withheld that from players. And so for me, I have no problem whatsoever if you've done something intentionally to bring harm to me. You didn't protect me from myself and from the other players when you had the information, you knew what the outcome would be. Shame on you. And so I was front in line. I jumped right to front of the line when they say lawsuit. Okay, I'm there. It's not going to get my health back, but it will cost you.
So with your, I know you told me you got a media entertainment platform that you're working on doing a documentary.
Yes.
About some of the players that's still living with the concussion.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, in Canton, Ohio, there's a award-winning filmmaker there who was also a former Camp McKinley Bulldog by the name of Dave Jingo. And he has a brother named Bill. I met them years ago, and I started talking to them about some of the things I wanted to do. And God rest his soul, Steve Sable was a good friend to me. Steve was over in Philadelphia, right across the bridge in New Jersey, and NFL Films is over there. And I used to go over there a lot because there was a few things that I needed as I was trying to prepare for my life after football. Steve had a lot of great content. I don't know if we called it content back then, but it was film. It was highlight films of players. And I grew up watching on Saturday mornings. A lot of times NFL would show highlights on Saturday mornings. And Steve, I think, was the voice of that when I was a kid. And so I was just excited to meet him as I was to meet a pro football player, And I told him, some of the things that I wanted to do. And when the Super Bowl came here, I think for the first time when I was residing in Arizona, I think it was 2008 Super Bowl or 9 Super Bowl. And in my office, when I was working for World Talk Radio, I built this platform. They allowed me to build this platform for them called Voice America Sports. We shared space. It was a common area that other offices shared. And Steve Sable walks in the door. Now we had this, I guess it was a policy where when somebody walks in, if they're not coming to see you, then you're not supposed to engage with those people, right? It was like when Steve Sable walked in that door, it's like, there's no way in the world any of you are going to stop me from talking to Steve Sable. Now, y'all can just forget that. So, and it was during the Super Bowl weekend. So he came in and I went over and he and I started talking and I brought him in and introduced him to the people that I worked with and worked for. And he reiterated some of the things that I had been telling them that I could get that kind of support from him. And so, I want a player to be able to tell his story from his own perspective and have some B-roll to support some of those great plays that he experienced during his career, whether it be high school, college, or pros. And so we're working on those. Those documentaries are going to be called I Remember. And again, the remember part, the I is, the digital technology that the iPhone brought to this space of technology today. And the consumption of, digital content anytime, any place, anywhere, as long as you have access to the internet. And the quality is, as good as you can get nowadays with the iPhones. And the remember part is like, okay, some of us can remember some things and some of us can't, And so I wanted the players to tell their story from their perspective, why they can. And so that's it. And then the other part of Pro Sports Legacy is the other part that I feel that I had a little impact in is the esports. And they called me, told me what they wanted to do with the lawsuit. I believed in it. Plus I was working at a job training facility company, a 501c3, a faith-based organization by a former teammate, former Philadelphia Eagle, wasn't a teammate. He was my pastor. Herb Lust started an organization called People for People. And we did job training for people, welfare recipients who had to get a job and go to work and get off of welfare. Well, we did computer training. And when we were doing that, that's when I saw myself in a video game for the first time in 1990, Christmas of 1994. I went to St. Louis, Missouri, and my brother-in-law brought me down his basement and said, he wanted to show me this game with this toy he got. Well, I guess it was a present he bought his son for Christmas. It was a video game. First time I'd ever seen it. And he asked me, was I getting paid for this? And I said, paid? That's the first time I ever seen this. What the hell is this? And he says, it's a video game. And he's showing me myself on the screen for Ohio State. The 1979 team was in his video game. And so I immediately went back to my office after the holiday and started talking to some people in the office and thinking about, boy, if we're teaching these people these computer skills, there's a certain skill set that they could learn that we could possibly teach them that they can make these video games or work for a company that makes these video games.
Mhm.
And that's when I got on a track, and I haven't got off that track, pursuing that opportunity for, I want them to be able to, you can play the games and make millions of dollars now as a professional. You can play them in college and be on a student athlete on a college team and get a full ride. And then
That's the esports.
esports, yes. And then those same skill sets as a programmer, database administrator, software engineer, graphic designer, you could work in any other industry in the world, but you could also work for one of these gaming companies that create these games. There's shooter games, there's all kinds of games. There's obviously the basketball and football games. And so that's what I want to do. I want people in my community, Black and brown folks that look like me, who come from maybe impoverished neighborhoods. They don't have everything. They're certainly not entitled, but those who are entitled to, everybody can come together and participate. But I want to make sure that everybody is aware and everybody has an opportunity, that has an interest and want to pursue it, provide them with opportunity and a career path that they can make it.
Okay. So, hey man, I really appreciate it. I know I took a lot of your time, man, but brother, I could sit and talk to you all hour on top of hour on top of hour.
I could do that too. So, I enjoy it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it, man. We're gonna have to do a part 2, man, because I still got a whole bunch of questions, but I'm gonna let you go for now. Ray Ellis, thank you for being on Prime Local. Give people like your business information about your company.
Well, here's what I want them to do. If they really want to contact me and it's related to business, I prefer to use my LinkedIn account, so they can find me on LinkedIn. That's me on LinkedIn. That's Ray Ellis, and most of my information is there. I have an email, personal email address I give out, rayellis2724@gmail.com, and they could also reach me there. So that's all my personal stuff that I handle, and I take care of that myself. I don't let anybody else, do the work for me. I check it, everything. I respond to it. It's me. And then of course I got a Facebook account too, so they can find me on Facebook. That's me. I think I got a suit on. Yeah, I think I got a suit on. I was actually at the Super Bowl in Atlanta that picture this up. So I appreciate you having me on.
When the Super Bowl gonna be at this year?
Well, I think this will come out in LA. You got to come out. I'm giving you a personal invitation right now, Rodney. I'm giving you not only for this one, but for as long as I'm here and I'm attending Super Bowls, we can come, we can do stuff like this every Super Bowl. I got you.
That'll work, man. That'll work.
All right,
so Ray Ellis, appreciate it, man. This has been Rodney Harris, Prime Local TV Network. I'll see you guys next week.
OH.
All right, man. I'm gonna call.
Okay, holla.